the button c-bets, and just assume we're seat 3 in all of these scenarios. The button c-bets, and we check raise a very dry board. And the button decides to float us. And what we can do here is, if we anticipate that the button's going to float us a decent bit, we can just have the mindset that we're going to barrel on any turn card. And actually, contrary to what is the norm in most scenarios, the worse a turn card is to barrel, the better it is in this scenario, because we're only trying to get him to fold his floats, really. We're not expecting him to ever fold a king, or even if he bet called, pocket eights or something along those lines, we don't expect him to fold on the turn very often. So we're only trying to get him to fold his floats, and if a turn card is very bad to barrel, it looks more legitimate when we do barrel. So he's just going to fold his floats much more readily than he would if it was, an ace or something that he might think we're barreling on a fair bit, and therefore he might decide to make another stand on the turn. So I guess this hand just illustrates that even if you think your opponent's going to float you to a check raise or call you very liberally, that doesn't mean you can't barrel turns. And I think people often shy away from barreling turns on dry boards because there are very few turn cards that are typically good scare cards in their eyes. But when you kind of redefine your opponent's range to include floats and stuff, you realize that it doesn't really matter what the turn card is, that really any turn card is going to be a good bluffing card if you anticipate some floats. So let's move on to the next hand. So again, just assume we have some sort of a junky hand, and we call from the big blind, and another very dry board. And this time we check raise as is the theme in this video, and we get 3-bet. So on this board, this is a spot where when the button 3-bets us, it looks very suspicious, and we have, I guess, 3 options. We can just fold, wait for another spot, assume maybe he's trying to level us by 3-betting an ace, which is definitely possible, or better than an ace. Or we could decide to play back at him by either 4-betting the flop or calling out of position and looking to take it away later. I think on this board, on an ace-high board, it's kind of cool to float the 3-bet out of position because there are going to be very few turn cards or river cards. Well, I guess the river card won't matter, but there will be very few turn cards which the button is going to feel comfortable barreling on. Because when we call him to his 3-bet, it looks really strong here. Most people aren't going to assume we're floating him out of position. So they're going to assume we have an ace or better, and they're not going to want to barrel us. So I think that floating out of position is very cool. We expect the turn to go check-check a lot, and then we can bet on the river and take it away a lot. And it looks very credible. So turn goes check-check. And then river, we can just put out a small bet. We're only trying to get him to fold his air. And even if he does happen to have backdoored his way into a pair, I don't think that our bet size is going to make too much of a difference for his calling range. Even if he does happen to turn a king or river a 3 or something, or is 3-betting the flop with a 4 or something goofy like that, I don't think our bet size is going to change too much, and we're going to get the same amount of folds for the most part by betting half pot as we would betting a larger amount. And I think that betting half pot with your value betting hands can make a lot of sense here too. So that's another way to play back against someone that you expect to be playing back against your check raises. So here's another way. I think there's 2 more of these. So again, we have some sort of a junkie. And in this spot, actually, in this hand, our cards are somewhat relevant, I guess. We have 10-8 suited, 10-8 of spades in this hand, assume, or any 2 spades. And what we're going to do here is check raise this flop with the expectation that the button is going to 3-bet us with air quite a bit, and then we're just going to shove over his 3-bet. So we do get 3-bet, and then we shove in. And even if we do get called, our equity is rarely going to be that bad. So really all these hands are just showing a couple different ways to play back against someone that you think is going to play back against your check raises.